20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones you did do. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade wind in your sails, explore, dream, discover.
Hundreds of everyday people from all over the world have embraced Mark Twain's famous rallying call by taking part in a yachting contest quite unlike any other. The Clipper race is the only one in the world to offer non-professional sailors the opportunity to compete in sailing's ultimate challenge, a circumnavigation of the globe. Crammed together on stripped-down racing yachts, they had to learn to cope with each other.
You always have to say something.
Go and sit in your bunk and think about it.
Tall 6 even at this time.
And cope with everything Mother Nature could throw at them.
Had enough of this.
Along the way, they experienced an unforgettable emotional roller coaster of fear.
I am probably the most scared I've ever been in my life.
Heartache. Joy.
Yes!
Shock. Horror. And elation. In their challenge of a lifetime.
I still believe that this race is probably one of the most surreal things I've ever done.
The Clipper 0910 Round the World Yacht Race has passed the halfway point. The crews who've swapped normal life for ocean adventure have now crossed the equator twice, navigated a Great Cape, conquered the Southern Ocean, and the climatic challenges of the Asian tropics. Now they've reached the Olympic sailing city of Qingdao in China. And here they're met by a massive welcoming party.
Wow. Very emotional, and the tears are coming in my eyes. It's incredible.
Fantastic, what a welcome. Look at the dragons and everything, it's beautiful.
And of course, the biggest welcome is saved for the home boat.
I've never seen so many cameras in one place.
Let's go. Hey. This should be interesting. Yeah!
And this, being the Chinese Year of the Tiger, means each skipper has a little surprise in store.
Is that a tiger or is it a bee?
Absolutely crazy. Just incredible. This is bonkers.
And this celebrity treatment continues throughout their Qingdao stopover. After being treated to a lavish prize-giving ceremony, broadcast to millions of Chinese viewers, some take the opportunity to explore their exotic surroundings. Unsurprisingly, some are drawn to the local brewery. While all the time, their every move is recorded by a gaggle of journalists. But some poor souls are dispatched to the local supermarket to restock on supplies. Here, they'll need to try and decipher a bewildering array of Chinese products.
I have no idea. I haven't a clue.
Soon, however, thoughts turned to the next leg of their journey, the Grand Endurance Test of the Pacific. This won't be some kind of tropical breeze across the world's largest ocean. Instead, they'll be taking a northerly route that'll expose them to some of the most extreme sea conditions on the planet. And for the round-the-worlders who've logged over 18,000 miles of ocean racing, this'll serve as a brutal finishing school.
By the time they got to Qingdao, they've become a very good all-round sailor. They must have done, because think what they've been through. But this next leg from Qingdao across the States, that's a toughie, because it's the longest leg in the race. And actually, the North Pacific is very similar to the Southern Ocean. It's cold, it's miserable, it's got big waves. They do get the 27-meter waves off Alaska. I think by the time they've done that leg, they can turn around, stand next to anyone in a bar and say, I have sailed the oceans of the world, and I've seen it all.
One boat will have to wait a while before tackling this massive challenge. Team Finland's mast was snapped in two during a violent storm in the previous race, and they're still waiting for a replacement spar to be flown to China. For once, the Californian entry has no such issues to worry about. Their journey around the world has been beset by calamities. In leg one, a giant wind hole turned their trip to Rio de Janeiro into an exasperating marathon.
I miss land, I miss everything!
During leg two, their wheel sheared off 1,000 miles from Cape Town, and they endured a week's worth of backup steering.
I know. Well done.
And a promising leg four race was interrupted when they rescued Cork's crew after their boat ran aground on a reef.
At the end of the day, I have to say my opinion of sailing is that there's a lot of luck in sailing, there's a lot of bad luck in sailing. We've had a lot of bad luck, so it's time we got some good luck. You know, things can change, big time.
I think this is definitely going to be the hardest leg period of the whole race. I know people talk about the Southern Ocean and all the big waves and the freezing cold weather coming into Qingdao, but I think that's going to pale into this long battle of endurance going across the Pacific.
And when the fleet does finally set sail on its mammoth journey, straight away the crews feel the wrath of the weather gods.
It was an interesting experience that I don't wish to experience again.
It's departure day on leg 5 of the Clipper 0910 Round the World Yacht Race. Ahead lies the epic 5,500 mile challenge of the Pacific. On a bitterly cold day, Qingdao treat the crews to another astonishing spectacle. Thousands turn out to give them a memorable send-off. As the yachts glide off one by one, Team Finland can only watch on enviously.
It's pretty damn sad that we're actually not leaving when the rest is leaving. Looking forward to getting our mast up and finding a way to get across to San Francisco and have some fun and sail fast and...
Their replacement mast is on its way to China, meaning a wait of at least another week. Out in the bay, the clock is counting down to race start. And California's skipper, Pete Rollerson, seems especially fired up by the prospect of racing into his boat's home port.
3, 2, 1. Let's in the Yankee, come on! It's dropping there, let's get it in! You've got to be quicker than this, guys, come on! Right, hard on the wind again, guys, come on! Power up! Come on, Roller! Let's try it! Just try to do it a little more, I need to squeeze her up on the wind, guys!
Up you go, California, up you go!
Despite California's aggressive start, Hull and Humber emerged from the tacking duel with their spinnaker raised first and quickly blast off into the distance.
Right, let's figure out this sheet as well.
The rest of the fleet follow suit, and soon all the big spinnaker sails are billowing in the breeze. When night falls, there are some fairly spectacular signs that things are about to turn ugly. On board California, they're struggling in the dark to control their head sails as gale-force winds whip them into a frenzy.
Flap around like a whirling dervish. It looks like it's been possessed by the devil or something when it's whipping around. If you get whipped by one of those in the face on the back of the leg, it really is very, very painful indeed.
The next day, California is ploughing through a stormy yellow sea towards Japan. And for a boat that suffered more than its fair share of problems, there's a huge boost when race positions come through.
Last place. Qingdao, 17 miles behind. We gained 1.
As skipper Pete reads them in reverse order, it emerges only Hull and Humber can deny them the lead.
Second place. Hull and Humber. Yay! 5 miles behind. We gained 2. And obviously that leaves us leading. We are doing really well.
I think people are charged up. It's still, as I say, it's still really early days, and so I think there's still a little bit of settling in period. Obviously, we've got 4 new guys on the boat, so they're going to be settling into their role.
One of these new leggers is American equity trader Todd Prader. He's finding the sea state far more unsettling than playing volatile stock markets.
I think just getting used to it, right? If anything, put it to the test tonight. Pretty amazing that they could whip this up at 45 degrees.
Soon Todd's dicky tummy will be sorely tested. As all food supplies are labelled in Chinese, meals turn into a complete guessing game. Jamaica Lightning Bolt are also struggling with their food supplies. They've just discovered a packet containing duck heads and can't resist playing a practical joke on their new boy, Stuart Irvine.
This is how you eat. Delicious. Eating duck heads.
Over the next few days, the fleet continues to battle awful conditions. Thankfully, as the boats make it to the southern tip of Japan, the heavy weather subsides. At last, everyone has a chance to catch breath and take stock of this symbolic moment. Now they'll be entering the endless expanse of the Pacific Ocean. Down below, Emma Beaumont is taking advantage of the calm conditions by emailing her mum.
I have a very soppy, loving mother, so I know as soon as she gets anything, she's going to burst into tears. So I'm specifically saying to her, look, when you get this, smile and don't cry. I stupidly did have a phone card, but I used it all up in leg 1, so otherwise I would phone her and that would have really made her day, but never mind. Just thinking of my whole family having an amazing Sunday roast back in England, and that's making me very hungry. But I think we've got chili con carne for dinner tonight, so not quite as good as my mum's roast or my stepfather's roast dinner, but yeah, it'll be okay.
Sadly, a family tragedy is one of the driving forces behind Emma's trip around the world.
When I was 10 years old, unfortunately, okay, I will. I don't want to cry when I say it. Very sadly, there was a car accident which involved me and my younger brother, and more sadly involved my father, who didn't make it. So possibly I'm doing this a little bit for him. when, you know, unfortunate things happen to me and some members of my family, it gives you a fight. If you've got to come through some difficult times, you have to fight through that. So yeah, there's a few people that I'd like to be proud of me doing this, and I hope they will when I come back.
While the fleet ventures out into the Pacific, back in Qingdao, Team Finland has some good news.
We've got a new mast! It's all looking up.
Their new mast has successfully completed its 6,000-mile journey from the UK. When it's secured firmly in place, Dutch crew member Minke celebrates by examining it from toe to top.
So here I am, in the top of our brand new mast. It's very, 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 very cold, but it's all worthwhile. We've waited so long and now it's here, and I'm really, really happy.
As Team Finland sets out on their journey, the rest of the fleet are getting their first taste of the Pacific. And it's not a very pleasant one.
It's mentally tough. You're freezing cold. You've got drips dripping on your bunk is soaking wet, and it's just mental.
1,000 miles down, 5 to go.
And over on California, they're finding the conditions equally challenging.
I mean, for the guys when they're sat on deck, it's been pretty nasty in terms of, you know, every sort of 30 seconds or so they're getting drenched by a wave. They're having a pretty tough time up there, getting soaked. I mean, it's even coming down through the companionway, but that takes its toll on everybody.
It's a hell of an experience, though, that's for sure. And I knew this was going to be a tough leg. I didn't expect it right out of the chute. Just trying to think about when do I get warm and dry and wait for them to sleep. You've got lots of banging and crashing. You wouldn't really believe the noise below deck when you actually hit a wave and go over the trough, and you actually get the zero gravity feel where you go up and you can just, and then there's a great bang as you come back down. Out of a 3-hour off watch, you may get half an hour's sleep, half hour 45 of actual sleep. So there we go, this is the Pacific crossing.
When not braving the Pacific savagery, 53-year-old company director Clive is one of the more, shall we say, eccentric crew members.
Let's take you to the House of Sin.
Before his Clipper adventure, he was a carefree, philosophy-reading bachelor.
Ah, I shall miss you as well, Angelina. I'd like her to come along as well. My last photographic session here, very angelic.
Right from the beginning, Clive identified the Pacific leg as the crux of his round-the-world challenge.
What I'm doing it for is, I suppose, is to prove to myself that I can actually do this, more than to prove to anyone else that I can actually put up with the challenges and hardships. Coming in San Francisco will be very emotional for me. I've got a lot of friends there, and actually sailing underneath the Golden Gate Bridge in a 68-foot Clipper, I'll be buzzing. Last time I went to California, I didn't come back for 16 years. But hopefully this time I will, all being well. If I don't come back this time, I'm fish food.
But having completed a week of unrelenting slog in horrendous conditions, Clive's now questioning whether his dream of crossing under the Golden Gate is a bridge too far.
Since we've started, this has been the toughest test that we've had so far, because this has been a week of this, and it's getting extremely tiring. It really is difficult to keep going, and don't know how many more days we can take of this pounding before things start to snap. Hopefully the wind will turn, and we'll have some more plain sailing rather than this rough sailing, but which can keep going through the tough times. But even the tougher ones are starting to get ragged around the edges and starting to lose their temper, and there's been some comments made. So, and we can see things are starting to unravel. Remember, we've still got like 4,500 miles to go.
And those remaining miles proved to be the toughest, as near hurricane-force winds turn the race into a battle for survival.
They've literally battened down the hatches.
The Clipper race fleet is going through hell on the high seas of the Pacific. A week's worth of constant bashing through foul weather has sent the amateur crews tumbling out of their comfort zones.
Suddenly looking in the horizon thinking, oh my God, what's coming?
And now the battle scars of their punishing ordeal are starting to show. On board the Californian entry, Elaine Curtin, a physiotherapist by profession, is having to work overtime. First, Clive Cockram hobbles in after being wiped out by a rogue wave.
Okay? The collision with the winch, and then he's been in bed for at least 4 hours. All his muscles have spasmed, so at the minute it's really difficult for him to move his knee either way into extension or into flexion.
Next on the treatment table is 24-year-old art gallery assistant Melissa. Her finger is horribly swollen with pus.
It looks worse than yesterday. It's a lot more yellow and revolting.
How would you feel with that stuck in your finger? I can't bend my finger.
Right, we'll just try and do it as quickly as we can, all right? Or maybe that was just down.
Princess, come on.
Well, it's starting to ooze a bit. Quick. Sorry.
Oh, hot flashes.
Nice deep breaths. Wow, look at that! Pulling them out. That is doing a good job.
Please be gentle.
I'm being gentle.
Can you give me a break?
Okay, break.
Yuck! Did that just come out?
Yeah. Successful mission, I think.
But over on Hull and Humber, they're facing a far more serious situation.
The Japanese Coast Guard, I've spoken to the Japanese Coast Guard that we need a rescue of...
Their skipper, Piers Doudin, suffered a compound fracture to his lower leg when a large wave swept him off his feet.
Is he losing any blood at the moment? Is he losing any further blood, Mike? Or is it dried up?
With Piers effectively out of action and seeking urgent medical attention, the race organisers have a dilemma on their hands. The amateur crew of Hull and Humber can't continue without a professional skipper, and they're stranded over 400 miles away from Japan. Luckily, a solution is right under their noses. Spirit of Australia crew member Bob Bell has a Yachtmaster Ocean qualification. This means he can take charge temporarily, allowing Australian skipper Brendan Hall to transfer onto Hull and Humber.
You know, real mixed feelings for me. Obviously, the last thing any skipper wants to do is get off their own boat with their crew they've become very attached to. You know, duty calls, and you know, my responsibility is to, you know, the whole fleet.
We're coming to terms with the fact that we've got the longest ocean crossing to do. We won't have a skipper on board, and we're going to get a very different experience from this than we anticipated.
Thankfully, by the time the boats meet up, the conditions have calmed considerably. It's hardly a consolation for Brendan, though. He still has to take an icy plunge into the North Pacific.
I'm going in.
While Brendan makes it across without too much fuss, his bag containing all his possessions isn't so lucky and slowly drifts away into the blue yonder.
All right.
Eventually, Brendan and Bag are reunited, and the two yachts resume their journey to San Francisco in tandem.
Well done, guys. Our goal has got to be to get both boats safely to San Francisco intact with no further injuries. Brendan will set the agenda, and we'll pretty much accompany him and keep up until the final mile.
Elsewhere, a secret revolution is taking place on California. Following Cork's unfortunate demise on a reef, crew members Gavin Kelly and Noreen Osborne have joined California until a replacement boat can be sourced. Now it's St. Patrick's Day, they're determined to bring a little slice of Ireland to their new home.
Day 16 on California Clipper when we placed it.
Got some fun and frolics planned. Everybody's going to have their own traditional Irish name for the day. And we're going to have some music and hopefully take control of the boat in a positive Republican fashion. Happy St. Paddy's Day.
On Hull and Humber, they've more pressing matters on their mind with badly injured skipper Piers. So it's a huge relief when the Japanese Coast Guard appears over the horizon. Finally, Piers will be whisked off to Japan via helicopter to get his leg pinned, an injury that may spell an end to his participation in the race series. Back with the Clipper fleet, and just when they finish one celebration, another arrives hot on its heels. Halfway through the race, they pass the international date line, crossing from the eastern to western hemisphere. As a result, the crews gain an extra day, but this causes mounting confusion on Uniquely Singapore.
19 on badge.
What day is it then?
Friday. I think Friday.
Thursday the 18th. No, but it's Thursday the 19th.
Thursday the 18th.
What's going on, Heston?
Do you know where you are?
Is this a boat?
But just as everyone's trying to figure what day it is, the warnings come through to expect the worst storm yet.
Hearing about this famous storm tomorrow, it sounds like the perfect storm, so prefer not to really think about that at the moment.
Soon the monster storm hits, and it doesn't take long for Uniquely Singapore to reduce their sail plan to nothing. Even under bare poles, they're blowing along at a good 8 knots. As the seas continue to build, the crews are having to deal with 30-foot waves crashing over the decks.
Everyone's getting a bit battered at the moment, I think. So I think, you know, we felt better.
Much more worrying, winds a fraction under hurricane levels are taking the boats to the brink. Something that's causing huge concern for California's Clive Cochrane.
Waves are really picking up, got lots of white caps, and sometimes you get hit on the beam by a wave, which is probably the worst one, because that's the one that could overturn the boat. Or even more importantly, overturn me. So I'm actually got 2 lifelines on. If you go over in this, there's virtually no chance of actually getting back to you. So safety is paramount.
Then in the early hours of the morning, everyone's worst fears come true when Uniquely Singapore suffers a knockdown.
What can you do?
A giant wave sends the boat crashing onto its side with the mast hitting the water. Crew member Johnny Hayes and skipper Jim Doby are thrown overboard, but thankfully they're saved by the safety lines.
Everyone needs life jackets on. How you want people to see it?
In this emergency situation, Jim lashes the steering wheel and orders everyone below decks to ride out the storm.
They've literally battened down the hatches.
Throughout the next day, there's no let-up to the atrocious conditions. And then the following night, California suffers an even worse fate. This time, a huge wave rolls the boat to 120 degrees, plunging the mast and deck underwater. The extreme force snaps the 1-ton mast like a twig. While down below, Clive Cockram is in a semi-conscious state, having smashed his head against a hatch.
Yeah. He's on his bed. Is he bad? No, he's sat.
As physio Elaine does her best to perform emergency treatment on him,
We clear?
Skipper Pete leads a team to secure the damaged mast. "50 miles away, Jamaica Lightning Bolt skipper Pete Sterling is trying in vain to raise a response.
CB10 California, CB2 Jamaica, CB2 Jamaica. Over.
Soon, the reason for the communication blackout becomes apparent. During the roll, seawater flooded California's nav station, destroying their electrics. Now Pete has no means of contacting the outside world.
No contacting anybody, but not enough fuel to get there. We can cheer you with something when it calms down, that's fine. Why am I sat phone something?
It's a desperately bleak situation that'll soon spark a massive international response. California is stranded in the middle of the North Pacific after being rolled by a giant wave. She's got a stump for a mast, not enough fuel to make land, and no means of communication with the outside world.
No contact anybody.
With an injured crew member who needs evacuating to hospital, Skipper Pete Rollison's only option is to activate the emergency beacon.
Be a good few hours. Yeah.
This'll send out a distress signal alerting the world's emergency rescue centres. As he's doing this, his crew are wandering around in a daze, still clearly shocked by what's happened.
Mother Nature wants to give you a slap, she can certainly give you a slap.
Russell Hallett, Paul Muspratt, Raya Fells and Todd Prado were on deck when the boat-rolling wave struck.
Picked me up, threw me to the other side of the wheel, and the boat was 90+ degrees at that point, so I was actually underwater. Pretty frightening to say the least, and being solely anchored by your lifeline, because if that gave out, then game over at that point.
I remember getting underwater and thinking, this is it, I'm drowning. It was quite traumatic, I think, feeling that your life's gone, which is actually the immediate thought, is quite a big experience.
As for Paul, who was helming at the time, everything's still a bit too raw.
It's all part of the experience.
Not really meant to be part of the experience.
Meanwhile, Clive's condition hasn't improved. His head's still bleeding and he needs rescuing fast. Just when things are at their bleakest, they hear the sound of aircraft engines.
Roger that, sir, and we are going to be making our pass to drop you a radio can at this time.
A US Coast Guard plane, scrambled from Alaska, has homed in on their emergency beacon.
15 seconds, stand by.
In the red canister is a fully charged long-range radio that'll enable California to coordinate Clive's rescue. 250 miles away is Danish tanker, the Nord Nightingale, headed for Los Angeles. The next day, Jamaica Lightning Bolt reached the California boat. Straight away, the crew are struck by the forlorn sight of the crippled race yacht being tossed around by giant waves. A short while later, the Nord Nightingale arrives, and Clive is prepared for evacuation. Joining him will be 63-year-old American Dennis Flynn, who's hurt his back. But as the sea state remains very rough, the transfer will be fraught with difficulty.
Oh my God! They took at least 4 attempts for lives to be attached to the life raft that we sent over. Unfortunately, once they're up alongside it was fairly straightforward to get Clive and Dennis off the boat. Definitely sad to say goodbye to them, but I'm really happy they're on board now and you know they're in safe hands. Hopefully Clive can get his head looked at professionally and get stitched up. He's a legend on Clive Cockrum. We're looking forward to seeing him in San Francisco.
With Clive and Dennis safe at last, California spend the next morning planning their own secure passage to San Francisco. As this will be done under engine power, they top up their fuel supplies with a transfer from Jamaica Lightning Bolt. At the same time, they set to work on a jury rig, a homemade sail that'll give them an extra knot or two in speed. Placed in charge of this is Melissa, who's still clearly traumatized by what's happened.
Some of the crew, obviously following the dismasting, suffered a little bit emotionally and psychologically with the sea state we've endured afterwards. There are some big breaking waves coming in, and you know, just the sound of that wave coming in or it hitting the boat has brought back all those memories for a few people, and Melissa being one of those. And so I think this has given her a complete sort of project to focus on and get her mind off the sort of thoughts of what's happened.
As California valiantly struggle on, 1,000 miles further ahead, the leading yachts are approaching the end of their marathon crossing. Leading the charge is the Canadian boat, Cape Breton Island. When they dock, it's immediately apparent they've gone through an incredible ordeal.
Everyone raves about the Southern Ocean being the sea to cross. You know, it's the biggest, roughest, wildest, but North Pacific just trounces it in every way.
Everyone was just expecting this to be long, I think, and it was much colder and much stormier and much wetter than I think, well, definitely than I expected. It was incredible.
Day upon day, hour upon hour of extreme weather, and it just got worse and worse. But we're here and a bit battered and bruised, but absolutely amazing, amazing experience.
And these sentiments are repeated time and time again as the various crews get in.
This one was bad. This one was really bad. It was like, you know, you came through hell and you survived it.
Just working for a month, like 31 days, exactly working, day or night.
It was one of the hardest things I've ever gone through in my life, and this really is, you know, puts a feather in your cap, and it's definitely something when, you know, you're sitting in the bar with people that, you know, talk a lot about sailing, that no one can really top this.
It was unbelievable, unbelievable. And you could not pay enough money to have that experience. I mean, just nuts.
A few days later, the California team finally get their glimpse of landfall.
We have 1.531 nautical miles to the finish line, which is 10 minutes. We got America here, we got a bridge!
We are here, I can't say it enough, we are finally here. So yeah, it's all pretty exciting.
By now, they've been joined by Hull and Humber, Spirit of Australia and Edinburgh Inspiring Capital. The English and Aussie entries have completed their own incredible crossing. Following Piers Dudin's injury and medevac, Australian skipper Brendan Hall swapped onto Hull, while crew member Bob Bell took charge on the boxing Kangaroo. Running in tandem, they successfully negotiated thousands of miles of Pacific Ocean.
Looking forward to getting in and end of a sort of very unusual little adventure.
As the boats complete their last few miles, Clive Cockram turns up looking a bit worse for wear. He's come straight from having his head stitched together.
I haven't been separated from a lot of the round the world crew members for more than 5 days in the last 7 months. So to be separated from them for over 2 weeks, it's extremely difficult. I mean, my tears are going to flow when I see them again, and I look a little bit different than I did when I left. Yeah, it's going to be very emotional.
As night falls, a crowd of well-wishers join Clive in welcoming the boats in.
Hey. Well done. You're amazing. I was so scared for you.
For once, race standings don't seem that important. But once redress has been calculated for the various disruptions, Spirit of Australia strengthened their lead at the top of the table, while California slipped to bottom place. Not that this is a great concern for them. Now they're on dry land again, they can finally put some closure on their epic adventure.
All of us went through something or other when the boat went over. A few of us had, you know, some tears and some trauma. As you come to terms with it, you find that it becomes a sense of great peace within you, a sense of enormous peace.
You learn what you can survive, and no matter what you go through, nothing can really be worse than that. You've stared nature in the raw, in all of its might, and survived. So having been through that, yeah, there aren't many other things that we really need to worry about.
It's a personal challenge from day one, just to sail 35,000 miles around the world, and you know you're going to have troubles. And we've had some big troubles. So yeah, great sense of pride to be able to actually come through and think, we've done this. You know, to be the old man in the old people's home and just think, I've sailed around the world. You know, that's pretty good.
The crews have now broken the back of their round-the-world journey. Next time, they begin their homeward trek. And as they cross the Atlantic, thoughts inevitably turn to the end of the race.
Feels like quite an achievement all of a sudden. Yeah, a bit emotional.